You're listening to eCommerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company. Powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder, and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
Welcome back to eCommerce Fastlane. I am your host, Steve Hutt. Now, today we're going to dive into what might be, I know I say this a lot, but I think it might be a very significant shift that's happening right now in kind of e-commerce operations, literally almost since the platform's kind of evolved. And, if you're like most Shopify merchants, you're probably drowning in a lot of kind of daily operational tasks, like you're manually updating inventory, you're probably chasing down customer service issues, you're analyzing spreadsheets, juggling many platforms that connect to Shopify, really just to keep your business running. And I guarantee this sounds very familiar with a lot of people that are listening. You're definitely not alone. And meanwhile, I think we always see and look at our competitors, and they appear in some cases to be pulling ahead. And you're kind of wondering, how are they able to scale so efficiently maybe? Well, maybe potentially you're kind of stuck in a little bit of the operational weeds that can kind of happen. And I think that's the reasons why I have my guest on today, who's Edu, and he runs a company. He's a co-founder and CEO of a company called Thinkr, and they're at thinkr.pro. They really are a pioneer in this kind of transformation. They're really understanding about this autonomous e-commerce and kind of where these AI agents can kind of fit in and help automate a lot of tasks. So it's quite interesting. And their platform really is here to help. I'd call it the mid-market, but we'll learn more about the sweet spot of the type of merchant that and brands that work well with their platform. But it's so interesting where people in the mid-market, from what I understand, they can actually access these enterprise level AI capabilities now. And I don't want to say give an unfair advantage, but I think the fact that people are able to get access to these tools, I think really does help give them an advantage maybe over larger competitors that are maybe still kind of stuck in some of this operational middle. So let's jump in and learn more about AI agents and kind of how they're connecting to Shopify stores and how I believe maybe early adopters are going to gain a competitive advantage. So hi, Edu. Welcome to eCommerce Fastlane.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you so much for being so flexible and kind of help me, think about a few questions I think that are important to ask. This is definitely a moving target. I mean, AI is on every brand, every marketer's mind, but some are apprehensive. But well, how does it actually help me? Maybe outside of the SEO potential benefits of blog posts and content writing and these sorts of things. Maybe, listings on Instagram or listings on your Shopify store or in Amazon. Outside of those sorts of things, or even some of the things that even Shopify has built with Shopify Magic. But I want to talk about the big challenge right now that, that's kind of what I kind of led in here. But research is kind of showing that the teams are really spending a lot of time on these kind of admin tasks. And most stores, are kind of struggling a bit with these kind of siloed systems, and it's causing, I don't want to say operational chaos, but there are some challenges right now of just a time suck of a lot of these different things. And from your experience now building Thinkr, and working with hundreds of Shopify brands, what's the real cost right now of these kind of hidden headaches? And then how are they affecting growth right now with all this operational challenges?
Yeah, those are spot on. And they really highlight how painful the reality of the e-commerce operators are in their everyday. So there's two real costs for this operational complexity. It's a twofold thing. But the second one is really what is devastating for growth. So first, there's a direct financial cost that merchants don't see on their P&L. And from our experience, we estimate that businesses are leaving 15 to 30% of potential annual revenue on the table. This is just one thing in the death of thousands of cuts, So
yeah.
It's a loss of sales. It's a loss from stockouts because inventory wasn't forecasted. It's poor ad spend with analyzing the wrong data, and it's missed opportunities that you're simply too overwhelmed to act. So that's the first cost. And then the second is even more painful, which is the opportunity cost. And as a founder, as an operator, spending all the time in administrative tasks when you're not doing what you're uniquely good at, which is being an entrepreneur, having the vision, and not developing new products, new opportunities, talking with customers, you're not building a brand. You're literally just going after everyday, day-to-day operations and trying to fix, and you are more as a firefighter than a natural operator.
Right. Yeah, I think we've all been there. We know that. And I think, we all have a finite amount of time per day to spend on our business. And it's just like, and there's been enough books that are written around, how do we improve our efficiencies? And I think that's one of the reasons why maybe AI has started to transform a lot of businesses now. And I think that's kind of what Thinkr has done. I know a lot of people hear these words like AI automation. And I think a lot of people in the early days, even myself, call them like chat bots or kind of simple task automations. Like, so can you help us understand what it actually means to have an AI agent? I guess that's number one. I think because people hear these words, they know what ChatGPT is. They know Perplexity or Gemini. They understand that. And I think some people are using some of these tools maybe to help reply to emails, maybe. But when you talk about AI automation and AI agent, maybe let's set the stage first about what this actually is.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, there's been a huge buzz, and especially about how powerful it can be. But I think we've gotten to the maximum point of how good your email can be. Like, people use it to write better emails, and of course, some chatbots that perhaps can help you sell products or come up with a response for your customer in customer service. Yeah, that's great. But I think when it gets deeper into a day-to-day workflow, it's where it gets really, really interesting. And that's where we come in. So we try to be alongside the operator, the e-commerce owner, in every step of the way, in every single part of and task that they're doing daily. So checking analytics, checking customer response, checking order, checking inventory, marketing, you name it. So we create the universal, or for example, we call it a store universe. So we connect to it can be Shopify, WooCommerce, different platforms. And then we connect to other platforms that you're also using. So for example, Meta Ads, Klaviyo, Gorgeous, etc. Once you're connected to your entire store universe, you have sort of like an encyclopedia brain right next to you that is guiding you through these decisions with the correct data that you need. So if you are asking about marketing, perhaps you're going to need some inventory or Google Analytics references in to make those strategic decisions based on all your store universe.
I see. So this way, let's just use it from the Shopify perspective, because I know you have a dedicated Shopify app. So you connect that, and then from there are ways of adding on all of the connected pieces of tech. So be that, like you said, Klaviyo, if you're Gorgeous, for sure Google Analytics, and then your ad platforms. So then what you're suggesting is that your solution then allows the marketer like full autonomy to kind of like query any of the Shopify store or any of the connected pieces of technology to get an answer that they're looking for.
Correct. So that's the chat. So just picture the typical ChatGPT experience. Everybody thinks, AI equals chat. And yes, so far, but it's getting deeper and deeper and even more effective as we go with time. And yes, you're connected with all your platforms in a single chat. So you can cross-reference, for example, a campaign in Google Ads with a certain page inside your website with multiple data sources. Before, I know a lot of people will be downloading the CSV files or the Excel files and putting them in ChatGPT. Now it's just connect them once and you can just ask it straight away a question you're trying to solve. So it's super helpful just having that in the chat. Then second, we go into agents. Agents we've developed it so that same way as chat, you can ask and perhaps have a conversation about a certain problem you have. For example, this is a problem many people have is, page conversion on product pages, no? So you're going to start chatting with our agent and with our chat, and coming with references of different analytical points. For example, one product page is doing better, the another one in the internet is doing better, etc. So it gets all the data it can to start having a brainstorm session with you. And then it will create an agent to fix that problem and test it and report back to you. So it's kind of like a new workflow where perhaps we used to do it on Zoom meetings with the team and be like, why is this product not converting? What is happening with this page? But now you're having that with an AI that knows by heart and by every single metric inside your store to really get to the bottom of those problems, and then deploying that agent that is going to try and solve that problem.
I see. Okay. So that makes complete sense. Yeah, we're definitely are familiar with using chat itself and querying directly, getting an answer and doing it. But now you're suggesting that it's now almost a decision-making process. Like if you think about it, it's just like, I think AI agents, from what I understand, they don't really respond, so to speak, like chatbots. I think they think and they plan and they probably can act on behalf of the e-commerce business.
That is 100% correct. Yes, they can act in behalf. For example, we have a safeguard, like some alert agents that will make sure that they can forecast if there's drops on your campaign performance or there's drops in certain parts of your store that you've pre-made these agents to make sure your store is not dropping certain levels. It can stop it for you. So if you go to sleep, for example, you're on a weekend, you're off 3 days, whatnot, you want to leave, your performance, you want to leave your campaigns performing at its best level. But if that goes down, the agent can go in and stop these campaigns, can stop. Then this is just an example of many things that, can go wrong, and our agents can literally take the decision, if you orchestrate them to stop and save you very valuable budget.
Right. So this is all part of, I think you call it your autopilot feature. So the AI can handle a lot of these kind of routine tasks kind of automatically. So I can see the screen right now because I'm logged in right now. And it's quite interesting, all the different categories about these different types of alert systems and processes. Can you talk a little bit about kind of like how this autopilot feature, because I think this is this part of the AI agent service that's available? You can activate these sorts of autopilot agents on behalf of the business?
Yes. So our full autopilot feature is still not out yet. We launched yesterday,
right,
September 1st. I don't know if you saw our big launch.
Yeah.
What we did was we are experimenting building a store from scratch, literally from zero. And we're giving it a budget, we're giving it an instruction, and we're giving it a market. So like a sector that we want to build a store in. We've chose the pet supplies. Very, very heavy market, very competitive. But we believe that we've gotten to a point that Thinkr can really perform in an autonomous e-commerce. So we are literally updating and seeing perhaps history right now and how this develops. And, with a budget, with an idea, we've connected Thinkr to our Shopify store and is asking us questions, permissions, and literally running it as a person would just build a store for you and start operating. And our goal is to, in a matter of days or weeks, have this, e-commerce be completely profitable. So it's our first fully autonomous e-commerce autopilot. We do have some autopilot features, for example, managing inventory. So for example, if an inventory goes down, you'll get emails or get an email directly to your supplier. So there's different little autopilot things that you can pre-make so that it can just do it by yourself, and it can get a lot of the context of your store, so it can be doing it by itself. Obviously, you get notified and certain different ways of you being in control as an orchestrator, but you stop being an operator, and that's our vision.
I see. So it sounds like in practice, there's a couple different things that I noted. So it seems like, inventory could be one kind of AI agent that can kind of monitor like these stock levels, and then, I mean, maybe almost like demand forecasting, and then automate some of the restocking kind of, because I mean, nothing worse than running out of stock. And I think there are other tools and things that maybe some brands are using from an inventory perspective, trying to understand forecast levels and seasonality, and then knowing what the next steps are. So you're suggesting that's one area would be the AI agent through Thinkr would to understand inventory management.
Correct. So yeah, that's a big one, and a lot of our clients use it in that one. But for also, which we all know AI is probably way better than us at doing, is a lot of data analytics. So that's another area that we're very, very powerful in. And since I just explained that all these different platforms are connected to Thinkr, it has the best context and the best store universe in terms of data. So you can create different custom reports that you wish for your store. So that's another use case that people are using and our customers really enjoy, which is every Friday, I want this metrics created for me, and I want insights on how to improve it. So you'll receive in your inbox at 9 a.m. Pacific time or whatever time, an email of all the metrics you've custom report made, plus you get specific, really detailed insights on how you can improve those things. So if, conversion has dropped, if, average order value has dropped or increased, for example, sometimes it can increase, it'll tell you why that's going on, and perhaps build a plan on things it can execute or you can do as an operator or an orchestrator to improve those metrics.
I see. So it sounds like, the difference would be here that maybe unlike like a dashboard, it sounds like this store universe concept is more about treating it like every data layer or metric of it's almost like it seems like it's a very intelligent or holistic operating system around all of the connected parts of the business, not just a siloed, hey, let's talk about Klaviyo and being very Klaviyo specific. It's like, no, let's ask a more general question about that could be affected on the Shopify store and the traffic and the location of data and cost per acquisition that's happened through It sounds like it's able to pull all this data together and make an intelligent decision on behalf of the business because of this connected universe.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And it'll pull data. For example, we saw the other day this use case that you'll see the AI giving you certain suggestions. Now that you're talking about Klaviyo, we've seen that, for example, at the beginning of the year, A, B, and C customers were purchasing very often. And then they've been quiet for 3 months. AI will notice those patterns because it's great at, analyzing patterns. And then it will give you a suggestion. Perhaps I can build you in Klaviyo a campaign to reach out to those customers that were buying 6 months ago, but suddenly stopped. So it will come up with, with the generative AI tool, it will come up with these type of strategies based on every specific store, because it's extremely personalized on your store universe, bringing insights and strategies like this to increase your sales.
This is very interesting. Now, and I noticed that there's quite a few case studies that are on the website. Is there any one of note? I mean, I don't know if you can talk anecdotally or if you can call out the business specifically, but it's interesting, that like I love to hear use cases and saying, hey, here's what this business's life was without Thinkr. They connected us, and now the marketer, the founder, the operations person, they're now seeing this upside based on connecting it. So I don't know if there's any one that's interesting to you that you can want to call out today.
Yeah, there's a couple for sure, but I think more anecdotal. We've had a lot of reviews from our customers coming back to us that Thinkr now is a part of the conversation in their meetings, and they have it open when they're making decisions, and they're asking it what these decisions are. So we had a business that almost tripled their sales. They were very small, and they knew that they were missing a couple of things. I'm sure a lot of your listeners when they know they're about to like really go out and explode. So they were in that pivotal moment. And when they started connecting all their data and they started growing and scaling, They're like, this is where we need to go. This is the strategy we need to pull. These are the metrics that are working. This is not working. So having that clarity as you're perhaps growing your business, you're thinking about hiring a team, you can start delegating a lot of this stuff to Thinkr and having a conversation with Thinkr. So that's been one anecdote of one of our customers. And another one is, since, you create custom reports, perhaps you're seeing marketing on Tuesdays, inventory on Wednesdays, how you can divide per day, per tasks, and have kind of like a workflow through the week. You can create these custom reports and they would have them up in the conversation and see what the insights were bringing of the last week. And based on what Thinkr was telling them as a guide, as like almost like a McKinsey-like consultant, and be like, this worked, this didn't work. They were making, the strategies, going back into the Thinkr app and, taking action on what it was seeing. So we've seen it a lot in those, conversations and the growth as you scale. It's extremely helpful, and getting clarity across all your data has been extremely helpful.
Mm-hmm. I know we have a lot of CMOs and junior kind of marketers that are listening right now, and I think they always find out that it's part of your ethos now, where you have to be an AI friendly person, and knowing that you have a tool now like Thinkr, for example, that can really, there are some essential kind of like e-commerce like growth reports that need to be produced, because there's usually a roll up to the director of operations or the director of e-commerce or even to the CEO of the business, and knowing that you can have and can create. I think that's some of the challenges right now of maybe some dedicated kind of analytics and reporting tools that are out there is that they're a little bit siloed in kind of how, yes, you can custom do reporting, but now being able to query through Thinkr and then have these reports kind of, this data analysis actually happening now, number one, through what's going on in the Shopify store, but then all of the connected store universes, you call it, now being able to query all of those and create custom reports and have things all like in all areas, just full performance reports like, AOV and conversion rate and LTV and all that, all those kind of basic ones that maybe the marketer wants, but even drilling down more specifically into product performance, growth opportunities. There's so much, there's so much that a CMO could choose to do it, and it's how do they create their narrative to their reports, or how do they roll up to the CEO of the business, knowing that this is what's important right now for the business.
Absolutely, and we've always had a thesis that we are very against dashboards. Funny enough, we think dashboards are a bit a thing of the past. As we move into the AI run world, we believe dashboards are a thing of the past, and now it's more a quick report with actionable insights. For example, I'll give you an example just came to me. You receive that customer report and you want to grow your business, etc. Thinkr will send you a specific, AOV has gone down. Then it'll give you, okay, this bundle will work because A, B, and C. So the report is not longer static. It's no longer a dashboard. You're looking at the dashboard. It's like, oh yeah, that graph dropped, but what do I do now? So it's way more actionable, and you start delegating that action to Thinkr. So it's the next step of the analytics.
Right. And it seems like, this happens a lot where a lot of these dashboards have kind of outdated data. When did you print this report? Or when did you create this report? Right? And I think that's in contrast. I think that's where maybe Thinkr's kind of AI agents, they're almost like your cross-platform data. You're really checking a lot of different things in real time. Literally, you could show up, 1 hour before a meeting with either your direct support reports or, you rolling up to the CEO. It's just like you can actually go and query right away and get the data you need. And then, it's just like you have the most latest information available right away and some actionable insights that you can actually use. It's almost like your secret, like almost like a superpower that a CMO can have, right?
It is. Yeah. We also, in talking about how those BI tools, etc., I think we're more in the business of building the future ERPs, perhaps. Like ERP would be this would be the ERP of e-commerce of the future, perhaps. One that is more in the conversation, one that is taking action, one that understands and also executes.
Mm. So what about the investment or, versus maybe the implementation of it? Because I think it sounds like this is a little bit of a mindset shift a bit, because you're like, this agent is fully available, kind of like beside you on screen, fully connected to everything. And I think it's one of those things where I'd like to understand about if there's any time investment. Is there a learning curve? I'm curious about from your perspective and the building of this tool, how people are implementing it.
Yeah. So no, that's a great question. And we have an internal thesis or vision, the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss. We're building the 10-minute work week, and that's how we like to call it. Yeah. And so we really want to give back time to those operators and have all the, day-to-day and the busy work done by Thinkr. So we are not trying to make a tool to have you 6 hours a day working on it. We're trying to make a tool that grows your business and gives you back valuable time for you to focus on what matters, which is branding and building a company and more strategic things. So that's initially. So, and how do you set up, and what's the learning curve? We've obviously, as we've been building this product, you go into Shopify store, download, install into your Shopify, as an app, and then build your own account in Thinkr.pro. You just log in and create your account, and then start connecting via, the connectors are pretty easy, a couple clicks per platform, and you connect it. And then right away, you're going to start receiving very straightforward, quick win, actionable insights to your email. So very quickly, you're going to be able to see what Thinkr can do in your email inbox. And you can literally just chat with it in the same platform right then and there. So it's a matter of, a couple of minutes from downloading from the Shopify store app, and then just connecting the different platforms you use and start using it. Literally, it's super easy.
Right. And so the whole idea here, this is kind of like, as you were speaking, I'm trying to think about the differences of what this 10-minute work week concept could actually be. But so it sounds like once it's fully installed, and then you add on your connected technology partners, if it's Klaviyo and GA and Meta and Google and whatever. So you get all those. So all the data points are in there. So it sounds like you can then decide about, well, what are some of the repetitive tasks? Like, inventory we brought up was one thing. Some reporting things. I just think like abandoned cart recovery reports and like it's interesting that I think you can do kind of like, it can handle some of those repetitive things, but then it sounds like that, based on each week, each month, whatever the flavor of the quarter is potentially, that you could start like analyzing data, like you call it 10 minutes per week, but reviewing some of these alerts, maybe even approving some of these action items that maybe. So I think, can you talk a bit about that? Because I think that's interesting, because I think sometimes what happens is because there's, marketers have a lot on their plate all the time, but imagine your system now saying, no, well, like, be very intentional with your time. If it's 10 minutes, oh great, but here's a laundry list of things that I think you need to think about right now that we have found, and then here's how I believe you should action them.
Yeah. So I'll go back to the very simple bundling example. So what this customer received was an email that said, we've noticed that your average order value dropped. Combining product A and B that we've noticed based on data will increase that. And, promotion, etc., with a discount. Once that got sent to the customer's inbox, he approved it, and then Thinkr orchestrated and literally execute that inside your Shopify. So it built the bundle, it created the discount, and it launched a campaign for you to announce that you have that bundle now. And so next week, the report comes in, and average order value has increased exponentially, like very, very large. So instead of you thinking about this stuff, your brand, what you can offer, you're getting suggestions. Once you approve them, they get executed. So it's more an orchestration and approval than you sitting down and thinking through these things.
I see. Okay, very cool. So then, so it sounds like it's a pretty simple workflow then. Once all these things are connected, and then all of a sudden you just have to have the intentional space to say, okay, no, now's the time, and then it's on your calendar, and you just go to it and log into the Thinkr app directly and start following along.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then I noticed too on integrations, it seems like it's a really straightforward process of just adding your Google ads, meta ads can be added on, obviously your GAs there. And if you're a Klaviyo user, you can connect that. Gorgeous if that's your CRM of choice. And I think you have Pinterest ads. I think currently it sounds like there's, and this is going to be like a nonstop kind of iterative process of there's going to be more pieces of a brand's tech stack that's going to be available as a connected source from within Thinkr. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. We connect through over 60. We just published the big 6, we call them, which is the big, the integrations that most stores are using. Of course, everybody, has their Google Analytics connected, but we do have way more that you can connect. And, if not, just contact our support team and happy to build an integration for you that is perhaps like more ad hoc and personalized to your business.
I see. And then so when someone goes in, there's obviously going to be some pre-created AI agents that are available, but you can actually go in and you can create a custom agent. And I noticed it because I'm logged in now and it's, good morning, Steve. And then and it gives me some options I like to ask, to research. And there's some kind of like different tabs at the bottom. Can you talk a bit about like what happens to someone when they start using it? I know we don't have video right now, so we can't really show it, but just overall, like what's happening here when I go in and create a new agent? There's the ask, there's the research, and there's the agent tab. The agent tab has some predefined agents that are pre-created, but can you talk a little bit about what's happening here?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of our customers like, okay, great. I know, ChatGPT does this. How can I leverage the AI to specifically e-commerce tasks and really start delegating as Thinkr promises? So we build the chat is just a chat for everybody. Is just using it, and you can just query and chat across your different platforms. And then the research is, for example, you're trying to open in a new market. You're perhaps trying to think about something deeper, and you'll go and test it with way more databases and internet data and go deep into the web and find new information that perhaps would take you hours or days to find. So that's going outside your store universe, knowing the context of your store universe, but, going way deeper in the internet and finding that information, and even some of our proprietary data. And then third is the agent. And we build some, pre-made agents that perhaps everybody uses in an e-commerce store. For example, the growth agent. And the growth agent is the one that I was talking about with the different insights that you get the bundle and things to grow specifically your store and revenue. So that one is probably our most popular. Obviously, everybody wants to grow their business. So once you click it, it'll ask you a couple questions, have a little bit of a conversation specifically on what your store goals are. Perhaps you're trying to grow a specific product or a category, or you're trying to set up a growth agent for inventory that you have that is a bit old and you're trying to move it. So you can give it a bit more direction than just to grow my business. And then it will focus on doing that guidance and that, instructions that you've given it. And then next step, you'll be receiving emails with those suggestions, as I mentioned, with the bundle one. So that would be a growth one. Inventory, you have a conversation as well. You want to focus on a specific inventory and so on. So those are pre-made agents. And then finally, in another tab in the menu on the bottom, we've made a template library. I
love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is probably the most powerful e-commerce agents in the market right now. Yeah, these are things that we've tested, and we have a couple of stores that we run internally, and those are not our bread makers. They're more like we test things with them and see how the business reacts. And we've built really powerful templates for you. You can just click and it'll go straight to agent and start working with you to build that agent. So very easily, very couple clicks, you connect your store universe, and then you can go into a template library, and literally in a matter of 10 minutes, you can have very powerful AI helping you grow your business.
Yeah. This is quite amazing. I love the alert system. I think it's really, really neat. It's nice that they're pre-set up here, like just some things that are interesting, like high refund rate warnings or maybe like a site speed challenge. Maybe someone added an app and there's some API endpoint problems and now there's some speed problems that are happening. That's a really neat alert. Or 404 errors that are cropping up because once again, an app has gone wild and who knows, right?
Yeah. And not the best part of the alerts is not just letting you know, because I know there's other apps that can do this. The best value in these alerts is that it lets you know perhaps even sometimes before it happens because it's forecasting. So it's always looking at that data point. So when it fails, you probably already know sometimes minute or hours before. So that's first, that's great. And then second, it tells you possible solutions. So imagine you have something goes down or, the speed test goes down, but you don't know what is making that happen. So it will, because it knows all your data, and I keep saying this, your store universe, it will literally tell you, we believe this, and that is creating this problem.
Right. And the last thing I think is really neat too is I think it's great that you have on the agent's dashboard. The daily CEO briefing is quite interesting. Get a daily summary of your store's key metrics delivered to you every weekday. It's so interesting that's available. And then I love the reporting schedules. There's a calendar here, and it's Mondays. This is like a default. You can move them around, whatever works for your own schedule. But like here's your financial metrics today. Wednesday's inventory you have. This is kind of default, so you can move them around. Or top customers on Friday, you want to chit chat and have that all happen.
Correct. Yeah. So we've tried to, build a plug and play solution because as we mentioned earlier in the conversation, people are used to, creating copy or seeing instructions or building really nice emails with AI, but there's so much you can do. And so we're trying to give them examples right away. They can really just, by plugging in, you can really just start growing the business.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like it's a kind of a crawl, walk, run kind of scenario where it's just like, hey, we're going to, we've got a lot of pre-designed things. So this is new for a lot of people, and it is a mindset and a workflow they have to get used to. But when they slowly get to see some really good use cases, they're like, oh, wow, that is interesting. I never knew I could do that. And more than just querying the chat of the connected ecosystem. That is very interesting, and that's very ad hoc, and I think that's great. And then come up with some recommendations. But it's nice to have some of these agents kind of pre-built, ready to go, and it might open up, because every business, these successful ones, usually they have a very unique tech stack and a workflow that works well for them, and that's why they're unique and why they're winning. More than just their product, there's this operational workflow that makes a business run too, more than just the product, the post-purchase experience and all that. And then, so I think this is really cool. This is available now, and I've interviewed lots of people. No one's really solving this unique problem. There's lots of AI tools solving unique AI problems, but no one's really approached it the way you. That's why I have you on today, because no one's approaching it the way you are, by having this agent available, pre-made, ready to roll, but also query the full connected tech, and no one's doing that. I love it. This is really great. Well, so what do you think some of our next steps are? I mean, I've learned a ton today. I guess I joke on the show, but I'm on page 2 in notes. I've scrambled a lot down here. I think you're certainly onto something. Who do you believe is kind of like the sweet spot of like the perfect kind of Shopify brand that you would like to work with?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So our best customers are people that already have a perhaps growing business. So we like to think about perhaps above $150,000 in sales a year and above. Since if you just started a business, it's tough because we don't have a lot of data to give you insights, etc. So perhaps if you're selling around $100,000 to $150,000 in sales a year, you should have enough data for us to really get in and dive the generative AI and use our model to help you grow. So anyone above that you would be amazing for us to work with. We have clients from all over the world. It's been amazing to be helping people in Latin America and Asia, Australia, US, Canada, everywhere. So that doesn't matter. And we would love to see, all types of different stores. We've seen crazy different stores that you bump into. It's like, wow, I never thought that could be a business. And, they're selling it online, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and what's really cool though, and I just want to make sure I call this out because I did some research on it. And what's interesting is that, what I think is unique about you, and I don't want to say you don't have any competitors, but I think what you do have is I think there are some very point solutions that do unique things that I would call competitors out there. And, like if it's, Stocky for inventory management, or, maybe there's, TDO or Reamaze or Gorgeous. I think, or even Shopify Magic or Sidekick. There are some competitors that do point solutions and they solve certain problems. I think what you're building is unique in the marketplace right now is because your mind is, no, we're going to connect Shopify and the necessary large players currently, large pieces of tech, think the Gorgeouses and the Klavios of the world, and GA and Meta and Google, getting those main ones, but you do have lots of other integrations, but knowing that have pre-designed agents. You can create agents, plus you can query live data from all of these connected tech in this ecosystem. That is what makes you. If I'm clear and I'm summarizing it, that's kind of what my mindset is. Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that's great. I think it's pretty straightforward. And so my thought is that, like, what are next steps then? So someone's doing 10K, 15K a month. They've got some product market fit. They're probably even some of the larger brands. I mean, I'm sure with a lot of data, people in the mid-market that are on Shopify Plus, then you got a ton of data, and then this incrementality starts kicking in because you can make some really big changes with like 0.5% or 1% shift in something or a recommendation. So what are the next steps then? Do they go to the Shopify App Store and install, or should they go off your website?
Yeah. Either one works. So yeah, you can go on Thinkr.pro and just follow the steps there, create your account, and then it will shoot you to the Shopify App Store. And also just go straight into the Shopify App Store, install, and it'll, give you the steps for you to install. And it's very, very straightforward and easy. Also, if you contact us, I'm happy to jump on a call with anybody who's interested in speaking and seeing how they can leverage a lot of these tools. I've left some time in my schedule to see all these customers joining and seeing how, they can stop using AI just for emails and also to start, growing their business autonomously and get some of their time back. I think it's time to really leverage this amazing and powerful tool that is changing the world, which is AI, and have it work for us in the most, designed friendly possible way.
Yeah, this is amazing. Well, Edu, thank you so much for being so honest and transparent. Thanks for building this. Thanks for being like literally bleeding edge when it comes to these AI agents and stuff. This is a really exciting time to be alive, kind of having e-commerce and just being able to like utilize these tools now. And I know it's an iterative process, but clearly you have product market fit now too with all these people using your tools. So yeah, go to Thinkr.pro or the App Store. And once again, thanks for joining me today.
No, thank you. Really appreciate the conversation, Steve.
All right. Have a great day.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of eCommerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.